It begins at dawn, inside the silent halls of Burkina Faso's presidential palace. Dust dances in golden shafts of sunlight while Captain Ibrahim Traoré enters his office, expecting another quiet morning. The air, however, feels different, heavier, slower. A single envelope waits on his desk, its corners slightly curled. The seal reads Mali Intelligence. As Traoré opens the report, a slow zoom reveals its contents. 2 years' worth of betrayal from someone he trusted every morning. Fatou Diallo, the quiet cleaner with tired eyes and a widow's stillness. She had been recording every confidential call, photographing discarded drafts, even accessing computers while dusting. Traoré's fingers tremble, but his face remains unreadable. The camera lingers on a portrait of his late mother, a reminder of resilience. Fatou's betrayal isn't loud, it's surgical. The narration whispers her cover. Widowed mother of 3, economically shattered, accepted into the palace after a standard background check. No one looked twice at her. Traoré recalls her nods, her silence, the way she never overstepped. She was invisible, just like the people the system never noticed. This silence, so easily mistaken for obedience, had moved in and out of his chambers for 2 years, while he made the most critical decisions of his presidency. Now every memory plays back with haunting clarity. The shuffle of her footsteps, the slight pause near his desk drawer, the way she never asked for anything, not even recognition. Flashbacks pull the story back in time, 26 months earlier. Fatou enters the palace for the first time, clutching a crumpled envelope with her application documents. Her face is lined not from age, but from life's weight. Her voice is barely above a whisper when she answers the HR officer's questions. Widowed, she says. 3 children. Just need steady work. The officer barely looks up. Just make sure the desks are tidy, and don't touch the phones. That phrase becomes a quiet, tragic permission. She nods and steps into the palace corridors, unseen, unremarked. The narration moves quietly through her new routine. She wipes down meeting tables. She empties trash bins full of state secrets no one bothered to shred. Her uniform is always pressed. She speaks only when spoken to. The camera captures her glancing at a photo frame on a minister's desk. Her eyes briefly reflect something more than fatigue. Curiosity. Guilt. It's gone in a second. Back in present time, Traoré walks slowly across the room, the intelligence report still open in his hand. The lines on his face deepen. A single sentence jumps out. She accessed encrypted terminals between 7:45 and 8:15 for over 200 days. He places the file on the table and leans back in his chair. Overhead, a clock ticks. Outside, birds call faintly over the palace gardens. But inside, time is still. His gaze settles on the chair where she used to rest her cleaning cart. It had always been there, just inside the door. The smell of disinfectant faint but distinct. A sensory memory floods in. One morning, last year, she had quietly placed a cup of tea beside his untouched breakfast. He hadn't even thanked her. He wonders now if that was pity, or guilt, or strategy. Through narration, we feel the betrayal more than hear it. The wound isn't from the information stolen, it's from the familiarity. This was not the work of an outsider storming the gates. This was wrought from within. Someone who knew the names of his children. Someone who smiled without asking for anything. Someone who cried alone in the stairwell, and yet remembered every word he said during tense international calls. Someone who blended into the machinery of power, unnoticed, unrecorded. Until now. The report says she used a small wireless transmitter hidden in the bottom of her cleaning cart. Traoré's eyes fix on that word. Transmitter. His mouth tightens. Betrayal by the least suspected. Not generals. Not ministers. But someone the cameras barely registered. As the sun lifts over Ouagadougou, golden light stretches across the marble floor. Traoré doesn't move. The file remains open. He lifts his gaze to the window. Beyond it, the capital stirs to life. But he is somewhere else, suspended in memory and disbelief. His voice finally breaks the silence. Calm. Low. Resolute. She was with me the whole time. Fade to black. The silence around her had never been questioned. In a palace full of men with titles and keys, She was the one person no one truly saw. And that made her perfect. The narration returns to those first days, just weeks after she began working. The charity had arrived like a blessing, handing her a white envelope and a promise. Education for all 3 children. Just tell us how your day goes. Fatou hadn't known then that this was recruitment. Not with threats, but with hope. That's what made it cruel. Over time, her updates became more detailed. Where does Traoré sit during calls? Which drawer holds classified folders? What time is the palace most quiet? Each response pulled her deeper. They never shouted. They never demanded. They praised. You're doing well. The man in the cafe had whispered across a cracked table. Your children will thank you. That line stayed with her, even as the requests escalated. First for names, then for images, then for passwords. She obeyed not because she wanted to betray her country, but because she had already betrayed her soul. The camera lingers on a flashback. Fatou kneeling near Traoré's desk, emptying the bin with mechanical precision, her fingers brushing a crumpled document with a red stamp. She doesn't hesitate. She unfolds it just enough. The small camera hidden in her cleaning badge flashes silently. In the narration, we hear her breath, steady, trained. 6 months in, she's no longer a cleaner. She's an asset, and she knows it. But she also knows something else. This life cannot last. In present time, Traoré stares out his office window, the city below unaware that national trust has already been breached. A strategic military operation had been leaked, exposing soldiers to ambush. Only 6 men knew the plan. None of them was Fatou. His voiceover is cold steel. This wasn't a mistake. It was a message. One by one, his ministers are questioned, computers checked, security rooms reviewed, but nothing sticks. That's when Mali intelligence offers a theory. If it wasn't the generals, perhaps it was the janitors. A line meant half, and just becomes the turning point. They review staff logs. One name repeats, Fatou Diallo. Always early, always alone, always in the rooms, just long enough. We see grainy surveillance footage. Fatou adjusts a flower vase, but the footage slows to show her fingers briefly slide a folder across the desk. She removes it, photographs it, returns it within 3 seconds. The agent watching the footage whispers, barely audible. She's not cleaning, she's scanning. At that moment, the reality deepens. Burkina Faso's most devastating breach came not from violence, but from routine. The narration expands with visual echoes. A failed negotiation with a West African partner. An international meeting where Burkina Faso's talking points were preemptively disarmed. A military convoy attacked along a route only 2 people knew. These were not coincidences. They were orchestrated exposures, each one a dagger from within. Her betrayal was scalpel precise, stitched into moments of assumed safety. Fatou's internal life becomes clearer. A moment shows her reading her youngest son's school report at night. Top of his class, she smiles, then quietly places a new listening device into her work bag. Her children's faces linger in photo frames beside her bed. They are why she continues. But the narration makes it clear, whatever justification she clings to, the damage is real, irreversible. The palace is now awound. Traoré begins planning quietly. He changes nothing publicly. Fatou continues to work, but now every move is watched. Traoré keeps his calls vague, his meetings short, his team silent. Don't confront her, he orders. Let her show us everything. The trap must close slowly. Another flashback plays. Fatou in the palace kitchen, casually chatting with the cook. She extracts a snippet about the Prime Minister's travel. That small detail leads to another leaked itinerary. The narration lets us feel how tightly woven this web has become. Then comes the emotional punch. A phone call, recorded by foreign intelligence, echoes in narration. The voice on the other end is calm male. She gets everything. She's inside the walls. And she is. Her name is on no memos. Her opinions are never heard. But her knowledge is limitless. Her silence, once seen as servitude, is now strategy. As the section closes, we return to present-day footage. Fatou walks down the palace corridor, nodding to the guards. Her cleaning cart creaks softly. No one stops her. No one sees her. Except Traoré. Watching through a small monitor, his expression unreadable. He whispers to himself, barely audible. Soon. Fade out. Courtroom. October 2024. The room is packed, but eerily quiet. Fatou Diallo stands before the judge, no longer the woman who moved invisibly through power, but smaller now, reduced by truth. Her hands are steady, eyes hollow. Her sentence is announced. 8 years for espionage, later reduced to 5 due to cooperation and mitigating circumstances. She doesn't argue. She doesn't cry. She looks straight ahead and says one thing. I betrayed my country. I am ready to pay. The courtroom murmurs, some in disbelief, others in subdued sorrow. To some, she's a traitor. To others, just another victim of desperation. Traoré sits at the back, expression unreadable, his presence silent but unmistakable. A journalist approaches him after the hearing. He offers no long statement, just 6 words. Justice isn't revenge. It's clarity. What followed wasn't loud change, but quiet transformation. Inside the palace, protocols shifted. Every employee, from ministers to maintenance staff, was rescreened with deeper psychological evaluations. 12 were quietly removed. New surveillance systems installed. Access logs reviewed weekly. Trash disposal became an intelligence checkpoint. But more than the policies, it was the atmosphere that changed. Narration moves through silent scenes. A secretary locking her drawer twice now. A kitchen boy lowering his voice when joking near the courtyard. A junior guard side-glancing at a janitor who lingers near restricted files. The palace breathes differently, carefully. Where trust once flowed freely, now there is pause. Not hostility, just awareness. Burkina Faso's internal security protocols begin receiving attention abroad. Case studies circulate in Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria. Experts start referring to it as the Diallo Doctrine, an operational failure turned framework for resilience. Meanwhile, in a prison 60 kilometers from Ouagadougou, Fatou undergoes her own evolution. She keeps her head down, reads quietly, participates in counseling sessions, then slowly begins to help, advising internal officers on identifying patterns, training younger staff on espionage tactics, showing where she would have hidden a camera if no one had stopped her. Her remorse is not performative. It is slow and lived. 3 years later, her sentence is commuted for good behavior. She is released under quiet conditions, no cameras, no press. But one request makes its way to Traoré's desk. Fatou wishes to meet. It takes him days to decide. Then he agrees. The footage never shows their faces clearly, just a static shot from a balcony camera. 2 figures sitting across from each other in a shaded courtyard. No movement, no anger, just long stillness. Then a nod. Then silence. Narration returns with Traoré's voiceover. She was a mother, not a monster. Betrayal comes in many faces. So does redemption. Fatou doesn't vanish. She begins working with a private security consultancy, quietly teaching others how to spot the signs she once buried in plain sight. Her lectures are clinical but layered with grief. She doesn't excuse herself, but she offers her insight with a warning. What looks like compliance may be survival. Look deeper. Her story begins to appear in academic texts across African universities, under criminology, espionage, and ethics. The woman who once vanished in silence now becomes an unspoken part of every security meeting in the region. Traoré, meanwhile, carries the lesson not just in reforms, but in memory. At briefings, he's more deliberate with his words. At press events, he chooses quiet resolve over bravado. He never speaks of her directly again, but those closest to him notice he no longer leaves classified files on his desk overnight. The betrayal shaped his trust. The forgiveness reshaped his leadership. The final images are without dialogue. Fatou stands before a group of recruits, diagramming a palace floor plan. Traoré stands on a podium, addressing a national audience. Their eyes never meet. But something past between them remains. The nation, once wounded, now stands taller. Not unscarred, but wiser, stronger. A betrayal became a lesson. A mother became a caution. A system once blind now sees sharply. The silence that once shielded treachery now guards awareness. And in the quiet between them, both Fatou and Traoré carry the same truth. The cost was high, but the lesson endured. Fade to black. May 12, 2024, begins like any other day. The presidential palace glows under a pale morning sky, its corridors humming with order and routine. Captain Ibrahim Traoré walks with measured steps, his face giving away nothing, the weight of the past weeks resting heavily on his shoulders. He enters his office without haste. The desk, the chair, the neatly placed documents, everything appears untouched, as if untouched by the storm quietly circling. But today, the room is not as alone. Hidden within corners and air vents, tiny surveillance cameras watch every angle. Audio recorders hum silently under the marble. It is a trap, set not with rage, but with surgical patience. Traoré sits, opens a folder he does not need, and waits. Moments later, Fatou enters. Her apron is pressed. Her cart squeaks familiarly. She nods once, eyes low, and gets to work with the same precision she's displayed for 2 years. To anyone watching live, she is just cleaning, but the cameras catch more. She brushes past the edge of the computer. Her fingers glide under the desk, pausing at the USB port. A hidden drive clicks into place. Her eyes scan the trash bin. She kneels. A photograph is taken, soundless, efficient. She removes a document, snaps a shot, returns it without a crease. She does not blink. Her rhythm is poetry in motion, an act perfected through necessity. One hand wipes, the other gathers state secrets. She thinks she is alone. She always has. Then Traoré speaks. Calmly, naturally. He picks up the office phone and makes a call. Yes, he says. About that arms deal in the northern corridor. Let's finalize the shipment by next week. Same entry point. Yes, usual channels. Fatou's back stiffens. She keeps cleaning, but her ears are tuned. She shifts slightly, turns toward the desk, mentally recording every word. Her hand slips toward the drawer again. Her breath is steady. But before she can reach it, the office door creaks open. Not rushed, not loud. 3 plainclothes officers step in. No alarm. No panic. Just quiet certainty. One of them, the leader, speaks with the calm of someone reciting a truth long known. Fatou Diallo, you are under arrest for espionage. The moment freezes. Fatou doesn't move at first. Her right hand hovers, just above the keyboard. Her eyes flick to Traoré, who stares back, silent. Her body slackens. A deep breath escapes her lips, as if life has been pulled out of her bones. The camera catches her face changing. Not fear, but devastation. Her voice, when it comes, is barely there. Please, my children. No one answers. One officer gently guides her back. The tiny device is still warm in her palm. As they lead her away, the silence screams. In the interrogation room, cold fluorescent light sharpens every shadow. Fatou sits across from an intelligence officer. Her hands are folded. Her voice, at first, is resolute. I'm just a cleaner. I don't know anything. But the evidence arrives one piece at a time. Photographs taken. Audio files retrieved. Transfer logs. Payments. Surveillance footage. A folder filled with months of betrayal. Her silence buckles. She blinks rapidly. Her hand trembles. Then her voice breaks, not loud but heavy. I just wanted them to go to school. The words fall like glass. The narration takes us inside the darkened observation room. Traoré stands behind a pane of one-way glass, watching her confession. His expression is unreadable, jaw set, but his eyes betray something deeper. One tear slips past his control. He says nothing. This wasn't just betrayal of state. It was a collapse of belief. Fatou had been part of his mornings, part of the rhythm of the very space he thought sacred. He had seen her pain, had ignored it, trusted the quiet too easily. As the confession continues, Fatou outlines everything. How the charity first contacted her, the promises made, the slow descent into espionage. She speaks of desperation, not ideology. Of rent, school fees, hungry nights. Her voice is flat, as if drained of identity. They told me no one would get hurt, that it was just information. But people did get hurt. Plans were ruined, trust destroyed, and somewhere in the web of lies, her original self disappeared. Back at the palace, Traoré meets with his inner circle. His voice is composed, direct. She was not the only one. We search everyone, every corner. No more blind faith. He does not raise his voice. His strength lies in the quiet. But underneath, something inside him is changing. His understanding of trust, of vulnerability, of power. Fatous's betrayal wasn't just about classified documents. It was about the ease with which the most overlooked can become the most dangerous. And the most human. The section closes with a slow shot of the now empty cleaning cart parked near the office door. The dustpan still hangs on the side. The faint scent of polish lingers. But Fatou is gone. Her silence has ended. The palace will never be the same.